I'm back. Beat. I can't wait to sleep one day. Driving just to travel in the heat. Travel in the heat, going back to the previous home and then turning around and traveling all the way back home to the new place is such a chore. And moving and loading. Moving's a pain in the ass, man, especially when you got so much shit. I had to go back solo right basically the morning after we got the horses here. I had to go back solo and get on a load. But anyway, instead of a rant about some shit that pisses us all off, I'm going to share some funnies with you first, right? So the other day I'm on the BC Ferry. For a lot of you that aren't familiar with the BC Ferry, it's a substantial sized ship. It'll hold hundreds of vehicles on it, and obviously lots of people, right? And it goes between Vancouver Island and mainland British Columbia. Now, the other day, I got on the ferry, and of course, everybody's frantic. There's people all over the place. Everybody's hot, everybody's uncomfortable, and everybody's traveling. Patience is wearing thin, and this guy, I found a bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom. So I found a men's bathroom, but it's a small one. It's really weird. So you open up the door. It's like right there is this urinal on the wall, and right there is like there's only one toilet, with the stall door, and then right here is a little sink, and it's really like it's a tight area. It's like a small bathroom in a house. So it's almost potentially a little uncomfortable, right? So I go in there, and there's a guy just standing there. There's a big guy with crazy hair and Hawaiian shirts just kind of standing there. The urinal's right here. The bathroom door is the stall. He's the toilet's right there. He's just down there. So I come in, so you can see somebody sitting on the pot right there, right? I'm like, using that thing. He's like, oh, no, go ahead. I don't need that. So, okay. So I'm standing there in the urinal doing my thing. And then the big guy, he goes into the stall, closes the door. He's doing his thing. And it's just kind of a little potentially awkward, right? I don't get obviously I don't get awkward about shit, but I do enjoy watching awkward. Awkward makes me frickin' laugh. I don't know why. So all of a sudden, then what happened? An old guy. No, so then I'm done. I'm at the sink washing my hands, and an older gentleman, like probably 80 years old. He's just your classic sweet old man type. The slacks, the little beige slip-on shoes, and he's in his short sleeve plaid shirt, and he's up to the urinal doing his thing. And all of a sudden, this guy, probably about, I don't know, 50-year-old dude, he looked like a little Hispanic guy with big crazy hair and a funky hat, and he comes in and almost like brushes by my elbow, and he goes and weaves his way between me and the wall and around the old guy, and he's literally jerking on the shitter stall door like this. Like he would not stop. I mean, it's so obvious. Somebody's sitting on the pot right there. You can see the guy's size 13 running shoes and his pants around his ankles right there under the door, right? This guy's oblivious. And I'm like, washing my hands dry, and I'm looking over at him like, hey, you do know somebody's in there doing their thing, right? And he goes, oh, I'm desperate. I'm so desperate. I'm so desperate right now. He's absolutely freaking out. And I'm like, well, I'm quite sure you just scared the shit out of the guy in there. He'll probably be done in a second, right? And the old gentleman at the urinal, he broke out laughing his frickin' head off. It was so funny. And I wish I'd stuck around for the results of whatever happened to that poor guy, because when you gotta go, when you really gotta go, and as soon as you get to that bathroom door or those steps to get to the bathroom, and your body starts telling you that you're already sitting on the toilet, right? So imagine how that guy felt if he was that desperate, probably running through that ferry to find a bathroom, went in there, and probably before he even got to the door to come into the bathroom, his body was already telling itself that he was sitting on the toilet. But unfortunately, I walked out of the bathroom laughing my head off, and I didn't get to see if he lost his shit or not. And that was pretty funny. And that reminds me of one more funny I'm going to share. I think it was last summer. And for all you that aren't familiar, I keep a boat out in Barkley Sound, sport fishing boat / guide boat when I guide for my friends and my friend's lodge, and I'm out here all the time, right? I'm out there all the time, always traveling. We were always traveling back and forth the ferry, and this is peak travel season, right? Pre-COVID, there's people frickin' everywhere, and when you're traveling from the island back to the Vancouver, BC side, It's hot. People are tired. You know, they probably got kids and shit and dogs and tired of traveling, just want to get home. And the sailing waits, so what happens, the ferry will load up, head over to Vancouver, and there's a massive backed up lineup of cars all lined up in the parking area for the BC Ferry lot where you sit and wait for the boat to come back and pick you up. And there's no shade. It was geographically one of the poorest places they could have. Well, I don't know. There's no thermal air currents through there. There's never any wind. It's still air. There's no shade. It's hot as hell. It's nasty. And if you got to sit there for 1 or 2 sailing waits, some people are sitting there for up to 4 or 5 hours at a time waiting to get on that boat. Anyway, meanwhile, they have a food court off to the side. The parking lot, fair sized food court. You know, it has an ice cream shop in there, Starbucks, pizza, burgers and shit, and a newsstand. And it's a non-stop, just people shoulder to shoulder going in and out of that doorway to get into the food area. So, I don't know, I was by myself, I don't know what I got a snack, a drink, whatever I had, and I managed to get this little table, which is on the outside of the door that goes into the food court, right? So I'm sitting right here, facing the waiting area where all the cars are all parked and people are just going in and out of that door shoulder to shoulder. Everybody's tired, everybody's hot, everybody's had enough. And that doorway is your typical doorway. It's probably about a 10-foot wide entrance, okay? 10 feet wide. And meanwhile, there was a metal chair. From outside around little coffee tables, there's a metal chair, and it was right in the middle of the entrance doorway. Just sitting there. So people are going around the chair. And I'm sitting there, and I haven't really picked up on what the chair was for yet. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, one of those guys, you know those steroid, juiced up, juice ball, angry, I'm tougher than anybody on the planet, bigger than anybody, and I hate the planet guys. You know, he's all inked up, steroided to the nuts. He's just like walking with 2 watermelons under his armpits. He's got the wife beater t-shirt on, overly tanned and angry. You know, he's got that WWF look on his face. He's just emitting, I'm a douchebag. I'm an angry, steroided up douchebag and I hate all you. You know, and he's just like walking like this, stomping out that door, coming back outside. And you know when you scrape a metal chair on concrete, on the ground, on concrete, it's just that noisy. So anyway, he comes stomping out of the door like this, and there's people everywhere. We're talking, I'll bet you there's 50 or 60 people all around this outdoor patio area. There's people everywhere, sitting there with the dogs, everybody's sweating, hot, had enough. And this guy comes out making a big display, and everybody grabs the chair, bam, and crashes it on the concrete sliding off to the side. And goes stomping off through everybody, making his way back to the car. Well, meanwhile, he didn't even know it, and the chair was blocking everybody from stepping on a big, massive pile of diarrhea dog shit. And the big, angry juice ball kicked the chair off to the side, squared it perfectly in his white running shoes, and continued to stomp off through everybody, oblivious that he just stepped in a big pile of diarrhea dog shit. And you could actually hear his foot going as he went stomping back into the vehicle lineup to get back into his vehicle. Oh my God. I literally started choke laughing. A handful of people, everybody looked, right? Everybody looked at him as he threw that metal chair on the concrete to make his little display of how angry he was and how big and nobody messes with me and get this chair out of my way. And as he stomped into there, I mean, bullseyed that pile of shit and traipsed it all the way back to his vehicle. And you imagine, you know how hot it is and the guy's already angry. Just imagine when he got into his vehicle and got to smell his foot. Yeah, that was good stuff. Obviously, the story is never quite as good as actually being there. If I could have videotaped that, I would have given half a leg almost to have been able to videotape that with that dude and that display and share it on social media, whatever, YouTube. Just share it, right? That was such an awesome moment. It was beautiful. But anyway, where am I? I'm back in the jungle. I'm actually. Right now I am about, I don't know, I'm probably about 400 yards from the house. surrounded by all this juicy rainforest, right? And there's the rivers down below me down there full of dead salmon. And I think what I'm going to do really soon, because I noticed this freaking huge bear came out when we were swimming there the other day, and another bear came out. So obviously it's a bear trail. They're coming to clean up the salmon. So I'm going to swim over to that other far side soon with a few trail cameras, and I'm going to set them up in great spots, and I'm going to leave them there. There's also probably, I don't know, there's probably 20 eagles there non-stop. And then as well, the other evening we were down there in the dark getting some water for the horses' trough, because our water, we have a little bit of a water issue we're working on yet. It's got to get fixed up next couple of days. So I was backing up in the pitch black, and I could hear this weird, like a half whistle, half shriek coming out of the timber right there, and I could hear it over the top of the diesel engine right there in the darkness, and we're like, what the hell is that? And I backed right down to the water, because we were as well going to, Sarah's daughters are with us now too, and we were going to jump in the river for a night dip while we were there. I could still hear the sound, so I turned on my flashlight, my phone, and I'm going back up in the timber trying to figure out what this hell this is, and all of a sudden it's coming from here, it's coming from there, it's coming from there. I'm like, what the hell is going on, right? Because it sounds like it's right in front of me. And then I turned on my flashlight, and sure enough, you could just make out the form of, I saw 3 of them all together, 3 owls about that big and like that, probably, I'm guessing they were grayish color, and they were just shrieking and squawking. One squawking, one shrieking, one shrieking, one shrieking, and they were probably all within 12 feet of me. You know, like, and probably only about 13, 14 feet off the ground. It was pretty cool. But I think I might do as well, maybe tonight if I get the time. I got to head out to the boat, I think, the next day or so. But I'm going to take the microphone out, which will record for quote. I'm going to hang it and see if I can record those creepy owl sounds, and then I'll share that as well here. But anyway, while I'm here, I want to get some people shared, because one thing I'm doing when I'm traveling, sitting on that ferry as well, I'm cracking open my emails to share my story and tell my story at howtohunt.com emails, and there's pages and pages and pages of emails sent in. So, and you know, just so you guys know, not all of them are encounters shared. A lot of people are just emailing in opinions. I can't count how many people just copy and paste scriptures out of the Bible and send it to me. It's one after the other. But a side note to all of you out there, what I would really like to focus on if I could, because it's almost getting to the point, 50% of the emails are eligible to be shared here, and the other 50% aren't. That's a lot of time looking at them and not sharing, right? But anyway, so I spend my time filling up the July 2021 folder in my phone, and there's already a couple hundred in there, and I'm still reading back from June, and I still have other emails in April, May, and so on that I didn't quite get to in the folder. So that's why I try not to waste any time. I'm trying to get it reheard. But side note, what I would like to do is, I'm hoping to do, I really need this time to be used to help people. All right? So if you have something you need to share in a safe place, that's going to help you. And that's what I want here. Or if you have some very serious information / knowledge that you feel will help the people, or help them grab that missing piece to their puzzle, I want to hear from you. All right? That's what I want to hear. If you want to copy and paste scriptures from the Bible, I've had that about 1,000 times now. So for all of you, thank you for taking your time to do that, but it's not needed anymore, okay? I've received it all 1,000,000 times over, as well as numerous personal opinions that people want to share out, and not too much hate mail. I don't really get, very rarely do I get hate mail, just the odd wacko path triggers and contacts me for some weird reason. But anyways, let's get on to it, right? I babbled enough. And soon I'm going to start going on adventures. I got to get in the mountains soon and on the water. I'm going to go stir batshit crazy. But what do we have? I've got lots. It watched it for 20 minutes. Hi, Steve. I'll try to keep the story as short as I can. This encounter is from my mother. Her and her boyfriend were going snowmobiling back in the early 80s. They'd frequently go to a series of old trails a few miles from her home. On this particular occasion, the snow was just perfect, powdery and 3 foot deep. It was a bright sunny day, just the absolute ideal weather to go for a ride. They trucked their little Safari 377 up the road to the end of the pavement and took off on the trails. They were the first ones there since the snow had fallen 3 days earlier. 3 days. That part's important. They broke trail the whole way in and eventually came to an area where there's a large meadow with a stand of large timber in the middle, like an island. They took the opportunity to open the sled right up and start doing passes around the outside of this huge meadow full of unbroken snow. It took them about 5 minutes wide open to do a full pass. They did this for a while and then noticed something had changed. During their pass, something had run off of the far side of the thicket toward the open ground and taken off into the woods. They didn't see the creature, but when they stopped to examine the tracks, they found what looked like huge, bare human footprints with a stride as long as their sled. This creature had watched them for some 20 minutes and waited for them to pass out of sight before booking it full out across the meadow. In the couple of minutes they were out of sight, it cleared 300 yards of meadow and 3 feet of snow at an incredible pace. The only conclusion they could make was that it had sheltered in the thicket during the storm and had stayed there for the last 3 days. There were no signs of tracks entering that stand anywhere around the meadow. They felt very uneasy and immediately started the sled and headed home. To this day, she still feels uneasy when she thinks back to this trip. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the great work, Josh. Josh, thanks for sending that in, man. Absolutely appreciate that. And I hope that you show your mother this YouTube channel possibly, and she can actually possibly find a little more calm once she sees just how many people have had the same experiences, right? And as far as that thing holding up during a storm for 3 days, from the knowledge that we've gathered from what people have shared with us today, I have a feeling that that thing just possibly showed up in the middle of that patch. It's probably more than likely, going by what the people have seen and recorded and shared here. Okay? But anyway, thanks again so much for sharing that, man. I absolutely appreciate that. Face to Face in Michigan. Hi, Steve. Thank you for creating this forum to educate and, in my case, help me heal from the experience I had. And that's exactly what I love reading. That's what we're trying to do. All right? Keep it coming. I had a face-to-face encounter with a male Bigfoot in the first week of October 2016 in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Massive, well-developed, and very healthy looking. Jet black hair with an oil-like sheen in the sunlight. Long arms, powerfully built like beyond steroids. Hair was very thick, and I only know it was hair by the way it was stringy looking on the forearms. Chest breastplate was like slate gray color leather, which was not hair covered and did not have a weathered or cracked, dry appearance. Face was flat, straight lips, did not show teeth. Nose was flat, eyes were black with no white or pupil showing. Face was the same color as the breastplate, did not have a weathered appearance. Hair on the abdomen had some white/gray streaks starting at the xiphoid process, wrapping around the diaphragm and streaked down into the groin on each side. I did not see male genitals. Upper legs were massively built like true tree trunks. I did not see from the knees down. Time was about 1:30 in the afternoon. Temperature is around 60. Mostly sunny, but we were on a north slope of an east/west running ridge mixed of timber, pine, hemlock, cedar, and poplar, aspen trees. Sun was at my back and in his face, though the canopy which showed the oil-like sheen on the hair. Wind was from southwest, maybe 5 miles per hour. I would smell it as it was a crosswind. The entire ridge was covered with tree snaps, X's on the ground, and maple tree bends. There's also 2 pine trees that had branches knocked off, and they were woven into a shield or blind-like structure. This being wanted me to see it. I was looking at a tree bend, and it made a noise to make me look at it. Not a grunt or a growl, maybe just a smack or thud on a tree. I looked and told myself, that looks like a deltoid and a bicep muscle. Then my brain put the whole package together, and we were eye to eye. I started to back up in pure fear of what I was looking at. Maybe 30 feet for 30 seconds, I'm not sure. Scared shitless, I can't really remember getting back to my truck at maybe 200 yards away. It did not follow me, and I thank the Lord for that. I've had other unexplained events in the woods from age 14 to 54. I currently live in North Carolina, and I really am not worth the crap in the woods anymore. That's sad. Other than opening day of the rifle deer season, I never traveled in the woods with a weapon or even a knife. Your recent story of the torn cedar bark hit home. I found 4 cedar trees stripped the same way, and they all showed 5 nail marks in the shape of a huge handprint. I believe they used these markers for night navigation, as the ones I found ran in a straight line for half a mile. Use this as you will. Please caution people not to go looking for them. You cannot unsee what you will find. Respectfully, Larry Hintsala. Holy shit, Larry. That was an incredibly detailed share. of the visual you had, almost to the point where I think that you may possibly be in law enforcement, right? Is people in law enforcement are trained to pick up every single detail, I believe, aren't they? What a descriptive. And for you to be, quote, not worth the shit in the woods anymore, well, it's understandable, right? Absolutely understand it. And the biggest reason for that, I believe, is the fact that we are being lied to and misled about the facts of what's really going on in our existence. That's all there is to it. Easily proven, right? Prove me I'm wrong. It's unfortunate, makes me angry, but we're turning it around. I mean, you know what? I think there's over 8,000 new subscribers just this month so far here, and they're all coming on their own. Everybody's coming because they are honestly looking for information. This channel isn't push. It's not. There's no paid for advertisements. I don't jump on other people's podcasts and shit to gain more exposure. We just keep to ourselves. We find each other, and everybody's just finding this channel on their own, right? Understandably. I mean, where can you go today to find honest knowledge from the people? The people don't have a voice much anymore. Like, where do you go to hear the people? Where do the people go to be heard? It's pretty tough, right? You know, like I said, the people with the biggest following numbers, the largest audience, they're all controlled and they are all in the same narrative, and they all keep their lips tight on certain topics and truth. And if you go off that line of narrative, you get deleted and suppressed, or ridiculed and laughed at and belittled. But obviously this page, that's not a safe place to be here. This place here is not a safe place for douchebags or people of offended culture. You're not welcome. Well, you're welcome, but as soon as you sprack off, you're probably going to get gonged, right? This channel is by the people, for the people, and it is getting damn popular, man. It's helping. Behind them was something big. All right. Love your attitude. First time, 1980. We're at Lake Tahoe, climbed above the tunnel, going on over Highway 50, Manny's Cave Rock, to watch some jet boat trying to break a speed record. Mike and I were sitting on a big boulder, and we heard two other people coming up. We turned to see one of the tow truck drivers and his wife. But behind them was something really big, maybe 2 seconds. And Mike and I looked at each other, looked back, and it was gone. We said nothing. 20 minutes later, the jet boat made its turn, and at a disintegrated... 20 minutes later, the jet boat made its run, and it disintegrated in front of God and the world. Oh. As we left, I went to where something had stood. The something had stood. The boulder it stood near was up to its knee. That boulder came to my waist. I'm 6'6". Mike and I never said a word to anyone or each other. Weird. Second, 1986, drive from Bloomington, Indiana to Columbus, Indiana, after a 12-hour shift at an Otis elevator, doing a change-out of overhead crane rails. As I approached the entrance to Brown County State Park, I saw some guy doing jumping jacks in the middle of 46. No one else was on the road. I slowed down, and I slowed down, and this guy saw scared shitless. He said something was up on the ridge just to the north, and where there was busted sandstone all over the road. I pulled a 12 gauge out and started to cross the road, but the scream turned my ass around really quick. Told this kid to jump in the van. Then I smelled it. This kid had shit himself. I almost did too. A big piece of sandstone hit the road and busted. Most slid under the van, but parts came in my window and ended up on the dash. We hauled ass, and I saw the pissed off thing in my side mirror. It was big. No reference other than the road. But it was facing us, and its arms easily could reach down from the center line to the sideline of the lane. We stopped at the Circle K Mart, and he changed his clothes. I drove him to Greensburg. Didn't get into Columbus till 3:30 a.m. We never said a word. Weird. Third, winter of 86/87, sitting in a crane while waiting for construction crews south of Story, Indiana, on SR 135, cold and snowy. I looked up and saw someone walking. Sun was just coming up. I fired up the crane. It stopped. Took 3 steps diagonally across the road and into the field and was gone. I measured the height of the road sign as it passed. 10 foot 4 inches, making it over 8 feet tall. Never told anyone, especially that timber framing crew. A year later, I took my dad to see the timber frame we had put up, and it was for sale. The owner said his wife saw something and refused to stay. He was a big-time attorney who had built the timber frame as a retirement home. 4th, 2013 September. I live on 80 acres west of Columbus, Indiana. Have lots of deer in the woods, also lots of coyote. At near dusk, I heard a coyote going nuts back in the woods. I grabbed a shotgun with a box of number 8 and walked back 300 yards or so from the barn. No coyote sounds, and just followed the tractor path. Getting pretty dark, but the sky was still alight. I got to a big cedar and heard a buck snort on the other side of the tree. Then another snort to my immediate right, and then it was like a steam engine starting up. Snorts, and I heard footfall to my left. I rammed a shell into the pipe and started backing out. Didn't shoot, could not see the target. Called my aunt to turn on the security lights of her house, for which was closer, and got my uncle to pull his M1 and ammo out of the case. Went to the back porch and settled down. Then went back to my house. I got my spotlight and intended to go to the deck to see if there was something on the other side of the lake. Heard a big branch break. Something hit the ground. My aunt hit the security lights and we both saw an over 6 foot, all in black runner moving at an amazing speed back to the big burn pile. F that shit. I grabbed the Mossberg and slugs, ran to the burn pile while my uncle tried to sight in with the 30-06. Then we heard mouth clicking at the burn pile. A crow above the lake, another caw, and a mouth clicking to the east behind my barn, and then a huge roar east of the lake. I got the hell out of there. About 20 minutes later, I heard lots of shots to the west and headed to the house that backed up to the property. The cops were there with 2 armed homeowners. These guys were telling the cops about monsters and shit. Cops just told me nothing was going on. I did run for Congress and never said shit about any of this till after the election. Since then, I found out about river monkeys. If you use my name, just call me Lou. These things are here. These things are here every September, and they're all over the place. Thanks. Wow. That's a good, that's quite the package deal of experiences you've had. Not too many people see them that often. Obviously, there's lots of people that have had that many, but not too many, right? I wonder, that thing, right when I was reading the part we said about the flicking on the house lights, just a quick thought went through my head about the fact that numerous people, their cameras have gone dead, right? The batteries have been drained. Quote, the batteries were drained on my brand new batteries in my camera were drained. Brand new, the phone, everything went dead. But I don't think we've ever heard about the electricity in a home going dead, have we? I wonder why that is. I wonder why. That's interesting, isn't it? If anybody out there has had their electricity from their home being affected during an experience one of these things, maybe send it in if you can. I don't think there will be, though, because I don't think we've heard that once before. And I think that might be somewhat interesting, right? Why can you not suppress or affect the energy in the house, but they can easily suck whatever's going on, whatever it is going on. I'm not saying he's being specifically, maybe it's something that's associated with them that is sucking the energy out of the batteries in our video cameras or devices. And I don't know why. But I think it might be a good question. I don't know, it's confusing, obviously. But if anybody has had the household energy manipulated while an encounter's been going down, let us know. Be interesting to find that out, right? But anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. And in the future, if I were you guys, you might want to think twice about just raging out there to go blow the head off one of these things if it hasn't provoked you violently, right? Because I have a feeling if you go and start a fight with something like this, there's a good chance you're going to lose. Damn experience. I hope I haven't read these. Sometimes I think I've read them before, but this doesn't have red type of size, so here we go. Hello, I'm reaching out about 2 experiences I've had. These 2 experiences have been weighing on me for the past 2 years now. Both experiences happened about 2 to 3 miles from each other. All this took place in the Talladega National Forest here in Alabama. The first experience happened December 2019 on a backpacking trip with my dog. I hiked about 4 miles into the National Forest off of a trail that isn't used much in the winter. I set up camp, built a fire, and around 7 p.m. I heard 6 to 10 coyotes howling in the distance. I listened and carried on with putting wood on the fire. Around 20 minutes later, the coyotes were yapping all around me. My dog went straight inside the tent. I grabbed my 9mm, so I was pretty startled that they came right up to camp like that. I yelled, "Get out of here," at the top of my lungs. As the coyotes bolted through the leaves down to the hollow, I thought they were gone, but a few of them seemed to sneak around behind me. I got a little freaked out and stomped my foot as hard as I could. The mountain echoed extremely loud. It was definitely a louder thump than usual due to my adrenaline pumping. After I stomped, the coyotes ran off for sure this time. Maybe an hour later, I was in the tent and noticed a fire dimming out. So I hopped out with the gun in hand and threw a big log in the fire to get through the night. After I put the log on the fire, I stood there a minute and got warm. I was just about to head back in my tent when I heard the yell, about 300 or 400 yards away. Not a man, not a coyote, not any animal I've ever heard in my life. The typical deep guttural yell that I've heard reported on your channel. What really shook me when I heard this yell, that almost immediately after I heard an identical yell on another mountaintop about half a mile away. After the yells, I heard what sounded like a woodpecker, but I did not think anything about it until I realized that woodpeckers don't peck at night. Brushed it all off and went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, hiked 5 miles past where I'd heard the yell, and there's absolutely no people or any signs of people for the next 10 miles. Nor were there any people ahead of me, as I would have seen tracks. Also, Sasquatch never crossed my mind until I watched this channel, putting 2 to 2 together from all the similar experiences people have reported. Wood knocks, yells, etc. Anyway, fast forward to the following summer, 2020. It was getting dark. I hiked into the same stretch of forest only 2 miles in this time as dark was approaching. I set up camp and I went to sleep. As I'm lying there, I feel a hand or a paw pressing on the top of my tent down onto my chest. I stayed still trying to get a glance at what it was, but all I could see was the outline of a bare snout breathing heavy over my face while I'm still pinned under its foot. I stayed calm and accepted that it was a black bear. I slowly reached for my 9mm as it was right beside me. I grabbed my gun slowly and pointed it up at this thing. As soon as I pointed the gun, it stood up on 2 hind legs, and that's when I saw this thing. It looked like every werewolf in every movie that you've ever seen. Muscular, big snout, around 7-8 feet tall, began to shake its head almost in disbelief that I was pointing a gun at it. In a split second, this thing had the gun pinned flat on my chest. As I was unable to move, this thing bent down and bit me on the neck. Everything went black as I thought I was dead. I accepted it. I said, "This is it." I shit you not, I woke up in the exact spot that this dream happened. I was so scared and so freaked out that I got out of the tent with 2 flashlights and looked for tracks, only to find nothing but anxiety and panic. I sat in my tent the rest of the night wondering what the F just happened and how a dream could be so real and affect me for a full year after. There's something going on in these woods, and I'll admit that I'm pretty scared to go back alone. It feels amazing getting this off my chest. Whether you use this story or not, we need answers, and we all appreciate you, man. I would never have known or had any clue what might be going on if it weren't for your channel. Thanks and stay blessed, Justin. Justin, thanks for that. And everybody, I think I read that one. That sounds kind of familiar, the gun and the look. I remember reading that. Apologize if it's a repeat, but let's face it, 8,000 new people are here, so it's going to be new to a bunch of people. Yeah, Justin, you're right. Things are going on without a doubt, and we are not told about it for some strange reason. I don't know what it is yet, but I will. I'm getting to the bottom of it for myself, but as soon as I know absolute 100%, when I figure out absolute 100% facts, that's when I blurt them out to you guys, okay? But as soon as I can offer up ideas, I can offer up different angles to look at things, but I can't officially dictate to you what is the answer for numerous questions that we have to date. But we're gonna get them. We're getting them. But thanks for sending that in, man. And I'm glad it helped. If you need to get that off your chest, and you have anything else you want to share with the people that might help the people in the future, send it in. Okay, here we go. 45 years of silence. Wow. Hi, Steve. My name is Brian Stoner. Feel free to use it. You and I have one thing in life in common. I'm a big guy, 6'8", 300 pounds. I was always the guy breaking up fights and protecting the underdogs. Anyway, I come from Centralia, Washington, Lewis County. Grew up hunting and fishing with my dad, John. My dad was a policeman at the time this happened. Dad had a lot of friends throughout law enforcement and fish and game. Needless to say, we were hunting Mount St. Helens within the red zone before she blew. We were just coming down from the Lily Basin Trail when the old man smacked my arm and said, "Bigfoot." He was screwing with me, so I blew him off. By the time I looked up, I caught what looked like the back end of a bear. He stopped the truck, but by that time he was gone. I know this isn't very exciting or a large story, but it took me this many years and your videos for me to talk about it. With the old man being a cop, we just kept it to ourselves. Weren't supposed to be up there anyway. So I want to thank you, Steve. My dad was my fishing and hunting partner and died way too young. He was 59. I was so devastated that I've not fished or hunted since he died. He was and still is my hero. So thanks again, Steve. Your story has brought a tear to my eye thinking about him. I always feel bad because I raised 2 sons by myself without hunting or fishing. Much love, brother Brian. Brian J. Stoner. Brian, thanks for that, man. I'm glad this channel helped you get that off your chest. And man, I'll tell you what, if I lived near you, I would come and find you and I would force you to come hunting with me. I'm quite certain that your dad wouldn't be too stoked to hear that you didn't go hunting anymore, right? It's unfortunate. It's one thing that pings me. I just get that pang when I read from people whose passion for the outdoors was absolutely destroyed and come to an abrupt end because of what they saw out there. It sucks. It sucks, and it's all because we're misinformed. It's all because we're not informed, right? It's too bad. It's too bad so many people in the past have made such a joke of this topic. 100% of the reality TV shows have annihilated this topic to be taken seriously from many, many people. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely that's been done intentionally. Absolutely. Intentionally created a mockery of this topic to the majority of the public audience. It's really, really frustrating. It really makes me angry. And it makes a lot of you angry too, right? But that's what we're doing here right now. We're turning that shit around big time. This audience is growing, man. It is frickin' growing. People want to know. People want to know, and people are finding out. But anyway, I gotta get home. I gotta go walk the other chunk of my property, make sure there's no holes in the fence, and introduce the horses to their other snack place. And then I think I'm going to come down later on. Maybe, possibly when I swim across the river with the trail cameras. I think I might be able to do that today, maybe. Maybe I'll take the camera over there too and show a view. See what kind of tracks are in the game trail over there and show you all those eagles. And also, I'm going to do some underwater filming in there as well. And I noticed I put on the mask and dove down, and the crayfish in that big pool were unbelievable. There's dead sockeye salmon at the bottom, and it's just, they're all over the place like ants, and they're big. There's a lot of them. So I'm going to take the GoPro down there and film them all, and I'm going to share that as well. I just can't wait to get back on my regular filming routine of the outdoors. Because this move is frustrating the shit out of me. It's prime time right now for what I do, and I have been doing nothing but moving. Anyways, be safe out there. I'll talk to you all shortly. Keep the emails coming in, all right? Especially if it helps. I really, 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 really want to see the helpful emails, helpful knowledge, or people that need to get this shit off their chest in a safe place. That is what I really want to see in that inbox above all right? Talk to you shortly.